Yo, what up everyone? My name is Zenitsu, and we're back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today is going to be a little bit different of a deck profile because it was something that I already had showcased in a previous video, and that was my addressing the state of Appmon video. If you haven't checked that out, feel free, where I go over and talk about my issues and concerns with Appmon going forward, and in that video I highlighted a deck that was built for EX10. And, well, I decided, hey, we actually can build the deck for BT22. So, might as well try the deck out and see how it's actually functioning and working. And, well, I can say it is a deck that functions and it works. So, it's not going to be the greatest deck in the world, but it definitely is a fun and interesting and varied way on being able to play Appmon and try to play them as effectively as we possibly can. Because the big issues that I wanted to address with Appmon in that video was the fact that we're not always going to be able to rely on App Fuse to be able to create those tempo spots to get into the higher stages efficiently or often enough, because the decks also have a tempo issue on top of a consistency issue. So this deck is also trying to fix that as well with the tools that we're going to be running, because I never really felt like I was low on hand when I was testing this deck out. And the other big issues is the color consistency. So trying to limit the colors that we're playing also means that we then can start playing some generic tools that give us more ability to do various things, where if we were just strictly all in on the more traditional Appmon builds, then we can't, because one, there's a limited deck space for it, and two, there is no color consistency, so sometimes those cards actually have the ability to just straight up whiff, which is never a good thing. So being able to put some of those generic tools back into Appmon is something I was looking to gain, on top of the fact that the biggest thing was the fact that we couldn't always evo utilizing the App Fuse ability, so we actually have a level 5 that can digivolve for 3. It does require a little bit of specific cards to use, but it's way less deck space than just running and relying on the App Fuse ability. So without further ado, this is my custom Appmon deck, and it's a very fun and interesting way to play Appmon. So, going over the Digitamas, we are going to play the only one worth running, which is going to be Swipemon, because drawing is really good. Even if it's attached to when we link, we still link a decent amount, so having any card draw is better than having no card draw. Speaking of consistency tools, I'm going to be running the only off-color card in the entire deck when it comes to Digimon, and that's going to be 4 copies of Navimon, because he's just strictly one of the best searching tools for Appmon, being able to not only grab an Appmon traded card, but also being able to grab an app driver, which is super valuable at optimizing our search potential. And then the link ability of piercing is just some icing on the cake. It comes up every now and then, but it's not terribly important. Then when it comes to the next app, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Shotmon. So Shotmon does play into the Three Musketeers archetype, but it also still is an Appmon. But because we're running a couple of other Three Musketeers cards, we have to run it, but we don't feel bad about running it because its on-play ability is really good at being able to digivolve one on one of the opponent's Digimon, as long as we have an Appmon or Three Musketeers in our inheritables that we want to trash, which is not really that big of a deal. So that's pretty nice, on top of the linking ability being able to delete some of the opponent's low-level Digimon also is pretty relevant at times. Then the last rookie of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Rekomon. So Rekomon is actually a pretty underrated card and highly synergistic with what this deck is trying to do, because not only is it more consistency with its on-play ability to draw 2, but it also helps set up our trash, because for that draw 2, we have to discard an Appmon traded card from our hand, which is not that big of a deal because we have ways on reutilizing the cards in our trash, and this is a fantastic way to help us set up and and dig through our deck at the same time, while still being in color. And the app link ability to gain us blocker is something to respect at times, because sometimes you just don't have enough defensive lines of play, and this could just magically grant one. Next, when it comes to the level 4 Digimon, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Soshamon. This is probably the weakest Digimon in the deck, but it's still on color and can still do something with the security ability to be able to play it out for free out of our security, which can take the opponent by surprise, and its on play when digivolving effect to -2000 isn't too bad either, especially since we could combine this with other DP reductions, and he even has a when linking ability to DP reduce as well. So we definitely have ways to try to take advantage of this. And then, because we're playing Soshamon, we also have to run Gossipymon. So Gossipmon is another security Digimon, so that way we could still try to surprise the opponent. And this is some good trash recursion. It's adding the cards back to our hand, but the fact that we get to add any Appmon traded Digimon from our trash is really good, whether we're digivolving him, playing him, or linking with him. And then the last champion of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Scopemon, because again, if the idea is we're trying to run Stellamon, then we have to run Scopemon, and we might as well try to optimize on running the 3 Musketeers apps. Even though we're not running any 3 Musketeers cards, they still have app synergies. So this is a fantastic card because it helps solve some of the consistency issues with its linking ability, because when you link with most other cards, you don't draw a card, which means you're just minusing 1 on your hand for the effect that you're trying to do, which is not necessarily the greatest thing all the time, especially since the deck doesn't have that great a consistency. So drawing 2 and trashing 2, again, is really good because it helps filter through our deck and set up our trash. On top of the fact that the on-play and when digivolving ability is incredibly decent, where we get to put a Appmon or 3 Musketeers traded card from our hand or trash to the bottom of one of our Digimon's Digivolution sources, allows us to then gain a memory, just makes us even more tempo efficient in various different areas, which is one of the big weaknesses of the deck and why I really appreciate what Scopemon is offering. Then when it comes to the level 5s, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Charismon because I'm already playing Sosha and Gossip, because they're all in the same colors as what I'm trying to be running and limiting myself to, which is purple, black, and yellow. So the fact that we still have a Digimon that allows us to do this is really, really nice. He does have the blocker ability native to himself, on top of the fact that he could app fuse with Sosha and Gossip, so that way we have easier ways to be able to get into a level 5 when it lines up. Then, on top of that, he also has a nice on-play and when digivolving ability, where we get a link for free, a level 4 or lower Digimon from either our trash or his Digivolution sources, which is not too shabby because that grants us his secondary ability for when he gets linked with. We get to have one of the opponent's Digimon be either goaded or taunted, whatever wording you want, but basically it just forces one of their Digimon to attack, which could really put them into some bad situations. Then his inheritable, or not inheritable, his link ability is incredibly strong, giving us a lot of really valuable protection that we even sometimes could be able to use and reuse depending on how we're going to be utilizing all of our parts and pieces at being able to keep our Digimon around as much as humanly possible. And the last level 5 is going to be the 4 copies of Stellamon because, again, digivolving for 3 is really important, and we can only do that with Scopemon, so that's why, again, we have to run Scopemon. So if we're already running Scopemon, we're going to be running Stellamon, and even though it doesn't have an app link ability, it still comes with a lot of very powerful effects in of himself, where we get to utilize his link ability for even more control. It's not the greatest, but it's still something. And on top of the fact that what we're actually going to be utilizing the card for is all of his other abilities. So whether we're playing him or digivolving him, we're never playing him, by the way, we're always digivolving into him, we get to then place an app or 3 Musketeers traded card from our trash or hand to the bottom of any of our Digimon's Digivolution source until the end of the opponent's turn. He's going to be granting us some extra protections by giving our Digimon the ability to protect themselves from being de-digivolved, which is incredibly important since de-digivolve is one of the strongest removals in the entire game, on top of the fact that we also get bounce protection. Then he has a secondary when digivolving ability that also triggers when he attacks, where we get to trash any of our App or Three Musketeers traded cards from our Digimon's Digivolution source to then de-digivolve one on the opponent's Digimon, so we have two different ways to be able to de-digivolve to disrupt the opponent's game plan. Then, when it comes to the level 6s, I'm going to be running and maxing out on Ouranosmon because I feel like this card generically is so far the best level 6 god app. Even though he's not actually the best level 6, for what this deck is trying to do, he is definitely the best level 6. Because, again, he's on color with the 3 colors that we're limiting ourselves to, and he has a lot of really powerful synergy with the deck, even though we're not going to be app fusing. Paying 4 to Digivolve isn't necessarily that big of a deal, because he does have the Alliance ability, so he could actually punch relatively hard. He, like all of the other gods, have the Link +1, so we can have multiple cards, an additional one, linked to him for even more abilities, on top of the fact that his when digivolving and when attacking ability allows us to play a level 4 or lower app from our hand for free, is really strong because the main one we want to play is going to be Scope, so we could gain the memory, but we also have Gossip to reuse whatever's in our trash, so that way next turn, if our Ouranos sticks around, then we basically just got another additional card that we could line up and use. So it's just very powerful, on top of the fact that even if we don't use our level 4s, we still have our level 3s, which could either de-digivolve, search, or draw. So just very good targets, all for Ouranosmon. And then, when a Digimon is played out, whether it's by our effect or not, we get to link one of our Appmon traded cards from this Digimon's Digivolution source to one of our Digimon for free. So whether that's him or something else is really, really strong. And the cool thing is, because we could use the Scope and Stella to be able to increase its inheritables, we have more inheritables for us to be able to work with, so we could potentially spread those abilities around and reuse them in ways that the opponent might not have thought was going to be possible to begin with. So it's just a very fantastic and high synergy card for what the rest of the deck is set up to do. And when it comes to the only other level 6 Digimon, if you want, it is literally just a tech or flex spot. This card could just be literally anything, whether it's going to be a tamer, an option, another Digimon, it doesn't matter. But I'm just electing to use Shadow Seraphimon Ace because, again, it's a really strong card, fits on color with the deck, and even though it's not an Appmon per se, it's still just a very valuable piece because of how Karizi works and the fact that we could try to bait the opponent utilizing some really strong level 5s and put them in a bad spot when we eventually ace into a level 6 Digimon. So good card all around, but not 100% needed. But as far as the other cards for the deck, when it comes to the Tamers, we're not going to be really super heavy on the Tamers. We're going to be running to Haru because he's Haru. He's going to be the memory setter, which is very important. So if you wanted to, again, you could just replace Shadow Seraphimon with another Haru, and this card allows us to draw a card when we link, and then just allows us to app fuse immediately, which would be strong, but we're just using him mostly just for the card draw and the memory setter, and the fact that he's also an app driver. And then the other Tamer is, again, another tech spot. This literally could be anything you want, doesn't have to be this specific card. But Asuka is a pretty decent one just because he could help us gain some extra memory and also help us with some DP reductions. So he combos very well with Soshamon, so that way we could get some extra DP minuses on top of the Shadow Seraphimon Ace. So yeah, those are the Tamers. And then when it comes to the options, I'm going to be running just 4 memory boosts. So I'm running 2 Ambers and 2 Sapias just for searching and the additional memory later, which does matter and is important. So that way we can actually make some pretty tempo efficient plays, especially if we don't have any of our Tamers set up. Then I'm just going to be running the other 2 app options that we have. Again, the Music of the Heart is a 100% optional card. It's basically just here to draw us a card. That's it. And then the app link is also here just to search out cards. But again, you could probably just replace these cards for some extra memory boosts or tamers or whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. I just like them because sometimes off of like Navi, these are still searchable and sometimes they're not bad to have, especially since they grant us free linking, which again is not terrible. So that's kind of the deck in a nutshell. I'm going to kick it over to some gameplay so you could see the deck in action for yourself. Have a good one and enjoy the game. Alright, so I have a searching tool, a Recomon. So I have like stuff I can play. So let's go ahead and keep this hand and kind of see what happens. It's not the greatest hand. I would like better setup cards. But playable is better than unplayable. So I'm most likely going to be digivolving, and then maybe try to set up a Amber, or we'll see what our draw is. Okay, so I think I just hard play the Navi then, if this is the case. So I digivolve into Rekka in the back, and then I hard play Navi to try to dig something out. So music from the hearts or the social. I think I just take the social. I don't really care about music. Music's okay though. There's an argument. Maybe I do just take music in case we're just like kind of just trading choking maneuvers. Because I still have some pretty decent search and I need to find my consistency pieces. So social isn't really going to be helping with that. So they are an Ukomon Enjoyer in a Dark Knight deck. Hard play second Uko. I'll just move up and digivolve into social and just kill one of his Ukos. Goodbye. I didn't need to commit to moving up, but next turn I'm going to get a hatch, and then I'm going to use Navi to draw. Oh, that's pretty good for me, actually. Holy crap. Because now I link with Gossip, and then I could get into the Chariz, and that will let me Ouranos. So I actually could get into Ouranos this turn. So the big question is, I definitely am swinging because I'm going to Gossip, grab this back, and then I need to, yeah, so we're definitely attacking here. That's perfect. Because now we link. We're going to draw. We're going to grab back the Chariz. We're going to Digivolve, App Fused into Chariz. Ooh, that's pretty good. Yes. I would like to, from my sources, I could make myself a blocker, or I could grab that back. So if I'm going to be playing the Gossip, then I don't need to grab that back. So I think just making myself a blocker to end the turn on is pretty good. Because that's Memsetter Nene anyway. Return an app from my trash. We'll just grab back the Navi. That's why I attacked with it. And then we will link here with a Soch to maybe, if I get another Charizzy, can just do a Charizzy play. So that way I'm trying to protect myself from de-digivolving. Because if he de-digivolves me back down into a Chariz, then I still have play lines. So I will block. I know he gets his draw, but I don't think I care about that. I care about staying alive. Because usually against like Dark Knight decks, they're very grind heavy and very boring. Painfully so. Yeah, unfortunately that deleted my Digimon. Oh, well, I got into another Ouranos, but I don't have a way to de-digivolve his Digimon, so that's a huge issue. So I am going to promote. Do I just swing with this? It's 10k. No. I mean, if it's 10k, I can honestly just maybe think about leaving it. No, he's gonna go to 3 anyway. This is fine. Ooh, that's really good. So I could use the ability to play out. The gun will de-digivolve, and that's going to be really annoying. But I don't have a way to delete as the follow-up because I already used up my Soch. So maybe I just throw Gossip out? Yeah. So I play you. Use the ability. Oh, I could get rid of the link to draw, but this is fine. We'll link here with the Chariz. So that way it gives this some protection. And drawing the scope is pretty huge. So now I could feel free to like scope and dispel. I still have blocker, and I just need to get rid of the link to draw here. Because de-digivolving this means it kills it. So hopefully he doesn't exactly have another de-digivolve. And I should be okay. So maybe I should have got rid of the link here. The link to draw. And then maybe linked with the gossip. Oh, he's digicrossing with it? I mean, I guess. Yeah, being memory choked for the whole game is not going to be fun. Because there's no opportunity for me to even set up a tamer. So it has to come out of my security. Otherwise, I already lost the ability to do it. Yeah. I think he was just baiting out the Kariz play. Because now I just swing, I play Gossip and add it back. What's under here? Ooh, another Ouranos. That's pretty good for me. We're going to use Navimon. Because I like sometimes just saving the rec for the link to block. So now we get to have some fun. So I won't be able to de-digivolve it, which is unfortunate. So I could swing, use his ability to play out the scope. Scope will then let me... Oh, actually, hold on. I have cute combo plays here. So I can tuck a Three Musketeer from my trash or app. So I could actually tuck him under here, and then because I played something, link. Yeah, I'll Alliance force the block. He doesn't get anything here. So maybe now is the turn I try to set stuff up. So I'll Digivolve here for 3. Use this effect to... So tuck and get protections from trash. So let's go ahead and tuck a gossip or a social. No, we'll tuck a gossip. Actually, no, we'll tuck Ouranos. No, it'll be gossip. We'll tuck it under here. And then trash the egg. So that way he can't de-digivolve Ouranos. And then now I have the opportunity to set something up. So we'll go ahead and set up a Amber Memory Boost to have some extra memory to play around with. Taking nothing. That's why colors are important. I should have played Sepia, then I could have grabbed the Recco. So I'm not playing the Tamer out because he's just going to end up deleting the Tamer. So I'm going to let him chip my security because if he hits a security Digimon, then I'm in a really good spot. I also can blast Digivolve, so let's not do that. Last Digivolving here would have been a huge waste. So he can have his card draws. He can't de-Digivolve this, and he can't de-Digivolve this. So I'm in an okay spot. So he's going to play a Dark Knight, probably kill the Navi. So maybe I should have just aggressed with these rookies a little bit harder. Try to end the game faster. Yeah, he can't de-Digivolve me. Yeah, I figured he would at least delete that. So now I just need a way to de-Digivolve him. I'm gonna hold the Digimon back. So now this is vulnerable, but I could swing. So if I swing with this, I could get rid of a source to de-Digivolve. So we're going to go ahead and trash probably the scope. And then that de-Digivolves, takes his blocker away. Ooh, that's not good. I didn't want that to happen. So now we're going to swing here. Play out a level 4 app. We're going to play out the Gossip. So that way I could take back the scope for next turn. I could Alliance. That's not good. That's arguably fine. Swing here. That's not good. And then now here's the unfortunate thing. I don't really have the ability to delete his Digimon. Is this play cost? Yeah, play cost 3 or less. That's a 4 play cost. So it's just out of range. Because ideally I want to get rid of it. I could link with Stella. So maybe I do that. It's going to cost me huge, though. So this is blocker. I'm not going to be blocking with this anymore. So maybe I do just get rid of this. Put Stella underneath. So that's going to cost 3. This is the awkward memory count. I could pop this, go up to 3, spend... Yeah, maybe I do that. So now I could link. Get rid of you. To delete his Digimon. And then, like, hard play wreck just to put more things on the field. Either that or I set up a Sepia memory boost, but... because he doesn't have anything as of right now. No, I think maybe just for safety, I set up a Sepia and dig for something. All our targets... Alright. Well, even though that was a DC, you can kind of see what I'm talking about when it comes to having these, like, very fun and intricate play lines on how this deck can function, what it can do, and trying to set everything up. So, if you found this video to be fun, then you already know what to do, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Later!